What I'm going to take you through quite quickly is a snapshot of the results of a presentation of a research survey that we have undertaken in June and July of this year. We've interviewed 2,000 active mobile gamblers, and the only thing we did to save the survey being biased towards bingo is that if anyone was in the survey was a bingo player, they had to have done something else as well. And if you were a national lottery player, you had to do other things as well. So I'm going to fire through some of the results that we have from our survey. The first thing we have here is actually looking at the activity of this random selection of mobile gamblers. And as we can see, we're looking at sports bet, not surprisingly. It's actually pretty accurate to what the market share would be expected to be. But in addition, is that we can see there's a lot of activity is taking place. So 39% of a sample within the UK are playing poker, 33% blackjack, 19%, 1 in 5 are playing video poker, even almost 1 in 5 are doing spread betting. So there's a really quite significant amount of activity is taking place with mobile gamblers. When we look at it here, we can see that, again, the previous slide is now summarized. And we have 79% overall were involved in some kind of sports betting, 64% playing casino, 39% poker, and 38% bingo. And if we look at how that changes down into those who are playing any one of these types of mobile gambling exclusively, 24% were only exclusive sports, 11% exclusive casino, and it comes down to 3% exclusive poker. And as I already explained, we didn't have anyone who was exclusively bingo within the survey. The really important thing, though, is this figure here, is that we found that 15% of our sample actually played across every single, each one of those, that they were doing sports, casino, poker, and bingo. And 15% in my book is a very big, very high number of people. One of the significant components of our research analysis is we joined forces with a company called CACI in the UK, and they have a thing called Acorn Profiling, and that's taking the entire UK population. And it's quite interesting straight away is that what we can see is the lighter shaded figures on the left-hand side is the UK population overall. On the right-hand side, in each case, this is the mobile gamblers. So what we've got is that we're kind of reasonably close to the national average on the affluent achievers, those people that rising prosperity, and this is a group that features a significant amount in this survey as being very active in mobile gambling. The comfortable communities, that's people really right in the middle. As you can see, it's absolutely spot on with the national average. And then I guess, which is the piece, is that we're actually, where we're really outperforming the national average population in the UK is people who are then financially outstretched and people considered to be in urban adversity. And when we're looking at this in great detail, right the way through our report, we're looking at each of the activities by each of these people. And of course, we then know where they live, exactly what their balance is within the UK population. What does this actually mean? There's a lot of figures on this chart, but if you just focus on Betfair, I guess, as an example, which kind of, for me, was the thing which proves the accuracy of this. Betfair, as you can see, they're high in the rising prosperity, they're high in the affluent achievers, they're high in the comfortable communities, and Betfair is intelligent betting. So we have one that we know, and we're saying, well, actually, this is very accurate. But this is just an example that enables us to look at each of the brands that we're looking at in quite some detail and being able to see exactly which proportions of the UK population are actually engaging with those brands and really starting to identify where the opportunities lie. This is, many of you may have seen that we had a mailer went out which was looking at brand awareness. And within the survey, we examined 18 brands for casino. As you can see, up at the top, that is in fact the order they're in, because it's 63 and a little bit of a percentage. But pretty much, right up at the top, it's fairly crowded in terms of brand awareness. But again, you can see then after the top 4, the casino brand awareness drops off reasonably steeply. I know that certainly by some of the conversations I've had, that some of the people on this list have been a little bit surprised at their awareness figures. If you're an operator, obviously you'll have a recognition of where your own position would be. One of the components that we've been looking at here is, right the way through our report, is then looking at age differences, gender differences, and a whole series of other differences. And I thought it was quite interesting just to have a look at the way that there are gender influences on brand awareness. And clearly you can see very quickly is that the females are on the right-hand side of this. And so Gala Casino, it's no surprise that Gala has a higher awareness factor amongst the female audience, and that's because historically Gala has been bingo, female, and that comes straight the way through into mobile gambling as well. And then we have Jackpot Joy, is also, again, racing quite distinctly away from male awareness levels. And then Lady Luck's down in the sort of bottom right-hand corner. And I guess the interesting thing that starts to come out of this, and I guess it's no great secret for anybody, is that there is no single market. There's just a whole series of markets. And gender is definitely one of them. And we'll come back to that these gender issues in a few minutes. When we looked at sports betting, and please, if there is about to be a voting thing, we want you to participate in this to be able to identify who comes next. But so this is the sports betting brand awareness league table. So that's our top 5. Not entirely surprisingly for anybody, the kind of legacy brands of Ladbrokes, William Hill, right up there. Bet365 doing a completely amazing job, have risen over a much shorter number of years, and then followed by Paddy Power and Betfred. The question is on this is which of the sports betting brands comes next? And these are clearly not in any order, it's random. Betfair, Sky Bet, BetVictor, 888 Sport or Coral. So if you could have a quick vote on that. But while that's taking place, I listened to the presentation yesterday by Andreas from Amazon. And one of the things that he was talking about was with Amazon, and part of their significant development has been the issue of friends and people recommending to friends about the kind of things that they should buy, and it's been enormously successful. Well, in this survey, we found that 22%, so that's over 1 in 5, nearly a quarter of all mobile gamblers began mobile gambling because their friends influenced them into it. So that's actually taken up mobile gambling in the first place. I'm not, we don't have the knowledge that says what brands these people used, but clearly one should recognize that there's probably a significant brand influence as well as actually taking up mobile gambling influence involved in something like that. I think while this final piece of this is going on, I think one of the other fascinating facts that we have from this is that 65% of our mobile gamblers are also engaged in some form of land-based activity in an average week. So they're not just mobile gambling. And that's even excluding any internet activity that they're engaged in. 65% of mobile gamblers are engaged in land-based gambling activity in an average week? I think we can probably go to a result now. There we go. We reckon it's Sky Bet. 30% Betfair, 10% Coral. And let's actually have a look what happened in reality. Hello? There we go. And as it happened, the next one down was indeed Coral. So that's our full chart of sports betting brand awareness. And as you can see, it's less steep in brand awareness terms than on the previous slide about casino. I said earlier on that there was some interesting age effects, and when we're looking upon some of these really high-end brands, you know, there's the curve of awareness is actually very, very shallow in terms of many of these big brands. But when you come across to some of the smaller brands, the ones who were down the lower end of the awareness level, and all of a sudden there's some really significant differences. So if we look at Tote Sport, 76% awareness in 65 or over, and it's no surprise. It's it is a legacy brand in the UK. It's one which was very much racecourse situated. It's only recently really started to open out into the marketplace. That is an incredibly steep awareness level across the age groups. Same with Stan James. Bet Victor, spending certainly from what I see in the UK, a hell of a lot of money in the UK, and it's probably in recognition of that fact that they need to be changing that. That's some fairly low awareness levels. And same with Sporting Bet and Stan James. And in a way, you know, one of the really good things about having high awareness levels in the older age group, of course, that the older age group in the UK certainly, and in most of Northern Europe, is our largest growing sector of people with a quite significant disposable income. And one of the things that we have right the way through our report is the fact that there's a really significant engagement in people who are 60 plus and 50 plus in mobile gaming. And one kind of suspects that the type of games that people want to engage with will be very, very different according to age groups. So now we're going to go through exactly the same process that we did before. We've got our poker brand awareness. And as we can see, we have William Hill, Bet365, 888 Poker, Ladbrokes Poker, and PokerStars, and there's 6 percentage points between them. These are the next 5. We'll be interested to see what you think that next 5 actually is.
And ladies and gentlemen, can I just mention to you, if you're voting by text or email, please just do the letter. So, for example, a Paddy Power Poker, just text A. Thank you.
While that's going on, I just want to talk a little bit about, I actually just caught the very last end of the last discussion, and it was talking about social gaming. But one of the components that we looked at in our survey was looking at what non-gaming consumer games that our mobile gamers were involved with. And I guess it won't surprise you, but that the vast majority were also engaged, no matter what age group they were in. Sports and shooter games were by far the games that our mobile gamblers were involved with. But even there, it kind of changes. Men, they're much more disposed towards sport and shooter games. But then when you start to look at women, and that certainly shifts, it becomes brain and puzzle games. And again, if we're looking at that link of the gravitation from gaming to gambling, all of a sudden we have a very different approach to non-gambling. And one wonders again the extent to which there is an importance in recognizing this when we're seeking to generate new games focused on a female marketplace, that maybe there is something more disposed towards brain and puzzle in comparison to sports betting, those kind of traditional activities of males. We asked our sample if they were interested in being able to bet in these normal consumer games, the computer games, if they wanted to bet on their own performance, and 60% of the people who were playing these games, which is the vast majority of our sample, 94% of our sample, said that they were interested in being able to bet against their own performance, so actually bet with money on their performance on a computer game. Now, clearly, if you're looking at market opportunity, then if anyone can actually start to own that, things like Call of Duty, and you're able to actually develop some kind of betting exchange, betting process, we're talking about an enormous marketplace. And interestingly, the desire to participate in betting against your own performance was peaked in the 25 to 34 age group. Right, I think we're going to go on to the voting. Right. Party poker was the one that was considered. Nope, I'm not going forward. Can you move me forward, please? Right, can we go back one, please? Okay. Can we go forward one, please? The miracles of technology. Right, there we go. So we have 1, 2, 5, and that now is our poker brand awareness. So I'm just going to finish on with a last slide. Unfortunately, I've got loads I could talk about. If anybody's interested in having a discussion about some more of the information that we've got, I'll just be standing around. Julian Graves from Clarion is at the back if you want to arrange a meeting and we can talk more about the results that we have. I'm just going to finish with one slide now. And this was just on brand use. So we've looked at brand awareness and a number of slides on brand awareness, and now we're looking at brand use. So this is people who are engaged in sports betting. Don't forget they're engaged in a number of different activities as well, but this is their actual brand use. So William Hill, as we've seen right up at the top, as they have been across most areas of our study. And then Bet365, followed by Paddy Power, Sky Bet, Betfair, and Ladbrokes, in terms of awareness, significantly higher in our league tables. And all of a sudden, when we're looking at brand use, slipping down quite a number of spaces. Anyway, that's my time up. So thank you very much indeed for listening. If anyone would like to know any more about it, please come up and we'll arrange to talk with you. Thank you.